My name is Schmidtke and I'm the director of the Center for Global Studies here at the University of Victoria. And we are here one day after the first round of the French presidential elections with a result that is on the one hand not surprising because the two candidates that were predicted to make it to the second round, Emmanuel Macron and Marine Le Pen, have succeeded and will have the runoff on May 7th. On the other hand, we have a surprising and somewhat disturbing result in terms of the political weight of non-mainstream parties or movements representing now the two candidates. In the first time in the history of the Fifth Republic, do we have a runoff where there's neither of the main parties that have governed France since represented. And to make sense of this, I am joined on this panel today by Helga Hallgrimsdottir, who is an associate professor in the School of Public Administration here at the University of Victoria, and is also a project on the rise of the nationalist populist in Europe. So very much involved with trying to understand how this plays out from a social movement perspective. And I have the pleasure of having Marc Lortie here with me, who is a former Canadian diplomat, being stationed as an ambassador of Canada to Chile, to Spain, and most importantly for our discussion here, to France during the years 2007 to 2012. So thank you for joining me, and maybe we can start off by sharing your first impression. It's not 24 hours. We just heard that Marine Le Pen stepped down as the leader of the party to position herself for the second round. So maybe we can start off with your impressions and maybe some explanation for the outcome that we've seen. Helga, do you want to start?
Sure. I think my first thought is that we shouldn't feel too relieved at the outcome, that the race is still really close between Le Pen and between Macron. It was only a percentage point or so away. This is Le Pen's best showing in an election by far. That's something that tells us quite something about the mood of the French electorate. I think the other thing to think about is that the communist candidate, the far left candidate, has yet to give his endorsement. So there's still that's about 19% of the vote that still lies up in the air, although we can hope that most of those will go to Macron, but it's actually not clear to me at all because of some of the overlap between Le Pen's positions and Macron's positions. So I think the one thing I'd like to really stress is that a lot of things can happen in 2 weeks. 2 weeks is a very long time politically. That it's going to be very important for the establishment parties to try and lick their wounds a little bit and make sure they get the electorate out behind Macron. In terms of what we're seeing here, I think the thing that's most interesting to me academically, I guess, and also disturbing, is the collapse of the middle. And maybe it's odd to think about the Republicans and the socialists in France as the middle, but they really were. They had migrated somewhat to the center over time, and they really represented establishment, politics as usual. And those parties really, the center has fallen out for them. We've seen that in some other European elections, and this is, I think, an important kind of comment on economic affairs and also some malaise around European unity.
Yeah. We will see whether we see the same as 2002 when Marine Le Pen got into the second round and the establishment rallied around Chirac at the time, and he received 82% or so. Right.
Marine's father.
I know, Jean-Marie Le Pen, here you go. But this was very different setting, and we might see something very... But Marc, your first reflections?
Well, my first reflection is I was extremely relieved last night when I heard the results and seeing that this young man who has a movement and no political party was able to attract 24% of the vote, and I thought it was a really interesting signal on the part of the French population. The French wanted to have fundamentally change in their political system. They were tired of the old political establishment or the old political elite, and they found in Macron somebody who was positive, constructive, embracing challenges of Europe, even embracing challenges of refugees. He was very audacious in his campaign, and he did seduce a lot of people. I mean, he was able to attract a lot of voters yesterday, and it was interesting to see that despite la morosité, as they say in French, despite the fact that the French are pessimistic, more than 78% of the population went out yesterday and voted. 78% at the general election is a huge percentage. You are the academic, you know what it is. In the United States, for instance, on November 8, it was 54.4% of the population that voted. Wow! In France yesterday, it was 78%. And therefore, the next 2 weeks are key, and Macron has a lot of work, and his team has they have a lot of work to do to gather all the forces. But I remain at this stage very optimistic that the centrist candidate, he doesn't want to define himself as to the left or to the right. It's the old dream of the centrists, I mean, picking good ideas left and right and so on. But I believe that he is going to do well in 2 weeks. And despite the symbolic gesture of Marine Le Pen today renouncing her leadership of her party, I think it is just a symbolic gesture.